What is up, you guys? Welcome to Illumination Lab. My name is Justin, and today I'll go over how I made this stylized backyard within Cinema 4D. In this video, I'll go over the reference I use, how I modeled the scene, and the lighting and colors I used to bring it all together. I'm excited to get back to building the scene again. We're going to have a fun one with this one today, so without further delay, let's get into it. Alright, so getting into the reference for today, as you probably saw in the beginning of this video of the renders of this backyard we're going to do, you could tell that there's been a heavy influence on our backyard that we're making today from this reference. I actually like this reference quite a bit. What I think is so cool about this one is, well, first off, just the perspective, how you can kind of see down into this little lounge area with a clear view of what's inside of the pool. And then in the background, you also have another lounge area, and then the whole scene is kind of encompassed with this really cool looking building structure here. And then of course all of the vegetation, the plants, the trees. And so I just thought the composition was pretty cool. And then, you know, it has a lot of fun stuff going on. And so I thought with this backyard is a continuation of the house project I've been working on. So when starting this scene today, I will start by using the outer shell of our living room, and then we'll slowly start to kind of build onto the backyard area. But again, this is our reference. I wanted to use a lot of the same plants and the kind of a similar setup with the pool and the lounge area. So that was something I was focusing on during this project, to try and see if I can replicate something that was similar, but of course change it up a little bit so we're not exactly copying, but we're doing a nice little twist on it. So I'm excited for this one. This is gonna be a fun one. We're actually gonna break this one up into two parts today. In this video, my goal is to kind of get the basic idea of the backyard done, and then in the next video, in part two, we're just gonna wrap it up and add the finishing touches onto it. So like I said before, this is a fun one today. I'm excited for this one, so let's jump into the modeling process and see what we can do. Alright, so to get the backyard started, what I'm going to do is I brought in our living room here. I just kind of brought the shell of the living room just because we are going to see some of the living room within the backyard, and then some of the dining room as well. So I just brought over the living room here. We're going to start with this as kind of like our placeholder, and then we're gonna expand the backyard here. So, and to start the scene here, I'm just going to bring in a plane here. I'm just going to adjust it, and then really this is just to help me measure out exactly where I want the backyard to be, and just to kind of give me a broad outline of what I'm working with here. So and I'm just gonna pull up this other scene here. I was working on this side of the house here, so I'm just going to pull this scene up and pull some of the assets from this scene, just so I don't have to just remake it within the backyard here. So I'm just going to pull a couple assets from the scene and just bring it to our backyard. And really for this, it's not necessarily the assets, because I can quickly remake this, but it's the assets and the colors. So by importing it in, I'll be able to kind of have the colors and all the textures right there for me. So it makes it a little bit more efficient versus having to search around and gather for all those materials yourself. And lastly, I'm just going to bring in this fence here. I really like this fence because it's has some character to it. It's a little bit different looking, and then I like how I did the plant on the fence here. All right, so now that I brought in the fence, I'm just going to finish up the fence here and put it alongside this far edge here. And then what I'm going to do is also stretch out this cube here, kind of give me a basic idea of where the pavement is going to be initially, or just the walkway in general, just because we do have to fit in the pool, and so I want to give myself a general idea of where everything should be at. And of course later on all this is going to change once I put everything in a little bit more detail here. So now, if we look at the reference here, we could see that in the foreground, we do have these two, almost like a plant bed structure here. And so I'm just going to replicate that here by bringing in a few cubes and just kind of outlining a box. And then eventually we'll find some cool plants to put in here. But with these cubes now, I'm just outlining a general idea of what they kind of look like. And then once I have that set up nice, I'm going to get rid of our plane here, just because again we don't need it. It was just there to kind of help us, give us a good reference initially. So I'm just going to get rid of this plane here and continue on. Alright, so next up is the stairs. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste our sidewalk here. I'm going to shrink this cube down, and then I'm going to turn on fillet as well to kind of give us a nice rounded edge to our staircase here. And then I'm just going to copy and paste a few of these cubes and stack it just to kind of create that staircase effect here. So cool, so that looks good so far. And then what we'll do next is we'll create a finishing top to our flower bed area here. So I'm just going to copy and paste this cube here. I'm just going to rotate it over and just kind of shrink it down so it kind of gives a nice finished look to the flower bed area here. Okay, cool. So that looks good so far. And as I'm rotating it here, you can see that there is a few empty gaps within the staircase. So I'm just going to adjust some of these cubes here just so there's not an empty gap between each stair here. So I'm just going to expand the cube a little bit and then just kind of fit it up to the next one here. And next we just gotta close off this flower bed here. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste and line up this cube here just to help box that off from the flower bed, also from the chairs that we're going to put down here as well. And as I was just kind of looking at it here, I think it would be cool to actually add this another step to the flower bed here, just to kind of almost go along with our staircase where there's multiple steps to it. So I think that will kind of give it a cool look. So I'm just going to bring in another cube and just adjust it like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. So I'm just going to copy and paste it to make it a little bit easier. And then same thing with the top here. I'm just going to copy and paste to kind of give it that nice finished look on the top here. And then I'm just going to adjust these real quick there just to make sure that they're all lined up properly. Cool. And then I have these here lined up how I want them. And then I'm just going to kind of box it in here, and I'll just kind of play around with a few of our cubes here to just adjust them so there's no overlapping or any edges that are sticking out, so it's a nice clean surface here. Cool. So now that we have that part set up, what I'm going to do is just copy and paste it and bring that version over to the other side. And again, we're just doing this to be a little bit more efficient, where we can kind of create the same look without having to try and recreate it on one side. So that's just a much faster and cleaner way of going about it. Now I'm gonna raise the staircase just slightly, just so that the top of the staircase and these flower beds here are just flush with each other. Alright, so as we pull up the reference again, we can see that down below the staircase we have this nice little sofa area. We have our two sofas, and then of course this ground area with this nice little this fire this fire pit area. So we're just going to start to create that aspect of it. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a cube here and then just kind of line out the floor here. I'm just going to bring in another cube as well and just line out the space where the window is between, or I guess the glass is between the pool and the outside. So I'll just line that up here, and then this cube on the far side here, this is just going to be the back side of the little sofa here. So I'm just going to line that up and get a good measurement of about where it should be, and then bring in another cube here to kind of complete that area here. So and now what I want to do is I'm going to look at the reference as far as the pool goes, and then I'm just going to copy and paste a few of these cubes here, again, just to kind of outline what the pool is going to look like and to give me a better idea of where everything else is going to eventually place out. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a wood texture onto this little walkway area or the sidewalk area. The reason why I do this is to remind myself exactly what certain things are going to be, and so sometimes I will color things in early just to kind of remind myself of what each asset is eventually going to be. So I think originally I did want to go with a wood like this, but I think later on I decided against it. So what I'm going to do here is bring up the Redshift render view, and I'm just going to pop it open just to kind of see what this material is looking like, and kind of give me an idea of what the scene is truly looking like versus just seeing it within the viewport here. I want to get more of a realistic look of what I'm looking at. So, and then right off the bat, you could tell that I have a Redshift sky, and it's not in the best placement here. So what I'm going to do is actually select our Redshift sky here, and then I'm just gonna rotate it a little bit, and so you can see the immediate feedback in the Redshift render view. And you know, we can see our light here, and immediately you can kind of see that these planks are warped a bit. And so what I'm going to do is throw in a Redshift tag onto these planks here, and then turn on displacement, and that should fix the warping that's happening here. And then as I add in a few more segments and a Redshift tag here, you can kind of see that the distortion here goes away. So I'm just going to copy and paste that to these other cubes here, and now we have this nice flush look for our little sidewalk area here. So now as I'm looking at it, it's cool for, you know, kind of like a raw unfinished look, but I don't know why I'm just not feeling it. And so what I'm gonna do is go into Quixel Bridge and try to find something that is a little bit different, and you know, is creates a better mood within the scene here. So, and after a while of searching, I found these wooden planks here within Quixel Bridge. So what I'm going to do is just import those into Cinema 4D, And then when you import it, what I normally do is I'll take some sort of random shape. So we'll just take a cube here, apply the texture to this cube here, and then I'm just going to copy and paste our cube into the scene here, and then I'm going to delete the cube just because the cube was meant to help bring over the texture here. Then I'm going to delete our wooden planks here, and then I'm going to apply this new texture onto them instead. And cool. So that will do for now. That's looking pretty good. What I'll do is bring up the Redshift render view just to kind of get a better look of it. And then as it pulls up here, yeah, so it's a little bit more stylized for sure, and it's a little bit more warm as well. The overall tone is a little bit more of a warm tone, so I think that will work well to kind of help complement the blues that we're gonna get from the pool. And then as we look at the reference here, you could kind of tell that they have something similar with more of a wood, actually more of a warm look for the walkway area. So doing something similar but just a little bit different. And again, we have more of a stylized look with these large unrealistic wood planks here, but I think it adds a little bit of character to the scene here. All right, so next up, we're gonna find a cool looking glass for the pool here. What's actually cool is in the Redshift library here, they have a glass condensation texture here. So we're going to import that and bring that in here because that'll kind of give us a nice look through that window portion of seeing the pool and being able to see the condensation. It kind of brings a little bit more realism into our our stylized scene here. So gives us a nice little piece of duality here. And what I'll also do as well is I found this black marble as well. So I'm just going to apply the black marble onto our flower beds here, and all these other cubes that you see that is currently dark here. We'll add the marble to those assets as well too. And now I'm just gonna copy and paste our sidewalk area here. Again, just to kind of make things a little bit easier and to make sure that the size of our sidewalk is very similar to the other side. So again, copy and paste as your friends. Make sure to use it just because it makes things a lot easier for you. All right, so next up is this pool here. So I'm just going to bring in a cube, and then I'm just going to adjust the size to this area here. And then really I'm just kind of play around with it, tweak it a little bit just to make sure that we can get a good size that actually fits within the borders here. All right, so now that I have the water adjusted like I want it, I'm going to go into the Redshift library here, select a liquid pool look, and just apply it to this cube here. And then to create a nice looking blue, what I'm going to do is just make another cube here, and then I'm just going to apply this blue glass to the bottom of the pool here. So when we actually pull it up, you'll be able to see that the light from our sky rig is going to kind of bounce off of the bottom blue area, and that's going to kind of help illuminate the pool a little bit more here. Awesome, so that's looking good so far. And then if we look back at our reference here, there's a cool looking tree that's kind of built into this pool here off to the side, so it kind of wraps slightly into the pool, and then it's the other side is also on this walkway as well too. So I'm going to bring in a tube here, and then we're going to recreate that here real quick. So I'm just going to adjust the tube here, and then I'm going to copy and paste over on this other side. This isn't exact to the reference here, but you know, just creating something that has two trees on both sides, that would be kind of cool, and also kind of keep the scene balanced as well too. So and now I'm just bringing an extra cube here, and I'm just going to kind of establish a better wall within the pool here, and then I'm just going to kind of adjust a few of these other spaces here to really make sure that everything is lining up properly. There's nothing too funky going on. So cool, so that's looking a lot better. And then what I'm going to do is just copy and paste this ground here, and then just kind of flush it out to both sides. And then I'm just going to create another cube here, just to kind of create a foundational piece to the bottom of this window. You know, it's more of a foundational piece to this window, so it looks a little bit more realistic, but you still get the view of the window between the outside and the pool area. So all right, so next up we got to make these sofas here. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a cube here. I'm going to turn on fillet, and then just kind of stretch out this cube here along the backside, and then that will kind of be our foundational piece into the sofa here. And then I'm just going to add in a few more cubes here. Of course, they have fillet on, so we get those rounded edges, and then those are going to be our sofa pieces here. Then I'm going to copy and paste those sofa pieces here, and then just kind of rotate them so you get this nice curve between the bottom sofa and then also the back cushion as well too. Alright, so next up we have to find a cool looking texture for this sofa here. So I'm going to jump into Grayscale Gorilla and then go to their fabric section and kind of browse around and see if I could find something that is pretty cool and something that works within the scene here. So alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and try out this greenish one here. I think the green kind of helps go with the green that is on the living room area here. So I'm just going to apply the textures to our sofa, and then I'm going to bring up the Redshift render view just to make sure that, you know, everything's looking right. And as we take a peek here, you know, it's not the best texture ever, but I think with the amount of glass and amount of assets that we're going to have within the scene, I think it would be safe to say that we can cut a few corners and really make sure that some of our focuses are in a little bit more detail, where something like the sofa here can have a little bit less detail because it's not the main focus of a lot of our renders here. And so we can kind of cheat our way of being able to get an idea of it, but not have to spend too much VRAM on it as far as creating something a little bit more realistic. So I think that would be good for the scene now, and then if we ever in the future do more realistic views of this, I'll have to go back and adjust a lot of these textures and a lot of the scale of some of these assets here. And again, to just make ourselves a little bit more efficient, I'm just going to copy and paste the sofa here, and then just put it on this other side as well. And then of course make a few minor adjustments just to kind of clean up the space a little bit. All right, cool. So looking good so far. Everything is slowly starting to come together, which is nice. And so next up, what we'll have to do is this fireplace area. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a few cubes here, and then just kind of outline it and just kind of create the general idea of this. This tree area or these tubes over here is kind of bothering me, so I'll adjust those real quick just so we can get something a little bit cleaner looking. And then for now, what I'm going to do is just copy and paste the floor here and then just kind of line it up to our fireplace here. And then I'm just going to use that as a placeholder while I adjust a few other things within the scene here. And then as I was working on fixing some of the spots up off camera, I did find a cool looking pool tile, so I went ahead and applied the pool tile to some of the surfaces on both the side and the bottom, again to kind of create more of a realistic pool look here. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just take a couple cubes and kind of wrap it around our pool here. And really, I just want to kind of fence off this back end area. So I'm just going to, again, take a few cubes, kind of adjust it and wrap it around and really kind of finish off this pool here. So. And again, I'm just lining a few of these up just so again it's looking right, and you know, it's all the edges are essentially touching and there's nothing out of place here. So I'll just go ahead and do that real quick. And then to make these tree spots a little bit more realistic, what I'm going to do is actually bring in a cylinder here and then I'm just going to apply the tile to the cylinder, and then I'm just going to add in another cylinder here to kind of cap it off at the top. So now if you look at it, it looks as if this cylinder is kind of built into the pool here, and again, it kind of gives us a more of a realistic look of what something like this might look like. All right, so looking good so far. So now I have to go back and try and finish up the fireplace here. So I'm just going to bring in a cube here, and then just kind of line up the cube to this fireplace here. And you know what? I think I keep bouncing between these, but I think I'll just come back to this, just because this could take so much memory as far as some of the rocks here. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of hold off on this again, just kind of make it as our placeholder of our fireplace, and then eventually sometime down the road here we'll wrap that portion up. But again, just trying to add as much as possible, and then also be conscious of some of the other stuff we're going to build within the scene, and making sure that we can actually render it at the end of the day and not get a Redshift warning when we go to try to render it. So next up, what we need to do is I'll hop over to Quixel Bridge real quick, and then I'll import a few different plants, and we'll put some of those plants into our little garden bed area here. Cool. And then I'm just gonna line it up here, and then I'm just going to bring in a cube as well to kind of help create a floor on this actual bed here. And then I'm just going to adjust the size of this a little bit, just to make it a little bit more like a reference. And again, we're just going to copy and paste this over to this other side to kind of make it a little bit more efficient. And then what I want to do is bring up the Redshift render view, and just to see what we're looking at so far. So as we pull up the render view here, you can see it's looking good so far. Looking very very much still in the beginning stages, but we're slowly starting to get there, and it's looking pretty cool. I actually want to see if this condensation is actually looking right, so I'm just going to kind of square this off here just so it can render slightly faster. And yeah, that's pretty cool so far. So we'll just go ahead and exit out here. Now, one thing I did notice in the render view is we need to adjust some of these rocks here. So within our fireplace, so I'm just going to bring up the render view again, and then I'm just going to adjust some of the segments here, and then I'm also going to kind of play around with the mapping as well, just so we can kind of get more of a realistic bumpy displacement look, and then ultimately just kind of see what we can kind of get away with. So awesome, cool. So next up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look into the trees. So I'm just going to hop into the Redshift library here. I found these cool looking trees here, so we're just going to select a few here, adjust them a bit, and then place it over here. All right, so I went ahead and chose this one, and then I'm just going to bring it over to our little area over here, and then again I'm just going to copy and paste just to make things a little bit easier, and then also, you know, to kind of keep it balanced as well too. Awesome. So I think this is a good stopping spot in our project here. I think we were able to kind of establish a lot of the backyard so far. We do have quite a bit left, but this is a good amount so far. So let's stop here and jump over to our nets section here, which is our wrap up. So all right, so wrapping up part one of our backyard here, I think we've done a pretty good job of matching up to our reference here. I think the more you kind of play around with Cinema 4D or even other 3D software programs, things just become so much easier for you. It's something that you can see within the picture. I felt like before I started Cinema 4D, I felt like recreating something like that would be either very difficult or time consuming, and within this last hour here we've kind of created somewhat of a more complex scene with rather simple steps to take us there. So it's really cool how programs like these can allow essentially anyone to be able to kind of remake something or just make something in general. So I'm excited for the next step here. We're gonna do something really cool on the backside of this backyard here. Of course, you guys probably saw it with the renders I showed you, but we got a lot of really cool stuff coming up for this backyard. And I think one of the biggest things with this is trying to kind of really provide a cool looking backyard, but also make sure that we kind of keep it in line, so we can kind of render at the end of the day. So I'm enjoying this one so far. It's a lot of fun. So if you guys have any questions on it, again, feel free to shoot it down in the comment section. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. Seems like you're liking some of the videos that go over modeling a little bit more and me just kind of creating something. So I'll continue to kind of work on projects like that and share it with you guys. So, but just like that, that's the end of the video. You guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.